Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Josh, my friend, what do you call them? Crystal Dynamics, the developers over taking care of the Avengers game, put out a patch the other day that was not really met with much positivity because it contained over 1,000 fixes for a game that has already been in a hell of a state ever since day one. So I'll read you the official patch notes and then we'll just talk about the reality of the Avengers game. I mean, for me, this just proves that it released completely unfinished. Like, just the amount of things wrong with that game. So the patch notes themselves, it's patch V1.3.0 is their first major patch since launch and addresses over 1,000 issues you've helped surface, ranging from several progression stoppers to small graphical fixes. The graphics, to be fair, are one of the only big recommendable things about that game. I give it 2-star in the review. I don't think it's a very well-made product, but the bugs and glitches side of it was something that seems to affect different people in different ways. There are scores of compilations, though. The stuff like Captain America's eye seems to bug out quite frequently. They actually tweeted in response to that.
That skin is horrifying. Horrible, that skin.
It looks like those were like Gary's mod things where like all the eyes and the mouth would like animate separately and everything. But yeah, they actually tweeted in response to that. Someone said like, "Oh, have you guys fixed the Captain America bug out face problem?" And they were like, "Yes, we have." And they literally quoted that. "Yes, we have fixed the Captain America bug out face thing." But yeah, I mean, what do you think of this? For me, this just screams of, the average AAA game design crunching on deadlines rather than focusing on quality.
Well, a few things, Scott. First, I wish this was implemented like 2 weeks ago when I was actually playing the game and could enjoy it. And two, it's like emblematic of that classic, ship it first, patch it later mentality that's just completely overtaken this generation. And to be honest, I thought we were away from games shipping in this state because, to be honest, right, putting aside my issues with the story and the gameplay loops and the games as service, stuff surrounding the Avengers, for me it was ultimately the bugs and glitches that just completely killed my enthusiasm, because every time I was properly on board with it, say there was a really good set piece, there was one towards the end, for instance, where I finally felt the thrill of playing an Avengers game, and it was just completely tanked by consistent, issues with either the frame rate or graphical glitches or crashes or bugs or progress not saved and stuff like that. And that was the real killer for me, because from moment one, literally from the first mission right until the final mission, I was experiencing these things. And even though it got slightly better with one of the updates that they released after launch, that did address some of the more egregious ones, I was still hitting frame rate issues, like performance issues and stuff. And the game just, it feels like it needed fundamentally, not only from the bugs and glitches, but from from what I perceive as design issues as well. Like, it seems like it should have had another 6 months, 4 months in the oven before it came out.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm dying for a Bloomberg, a Jason Schreier, a full-on deep dive into what the living hell has happened to this game across the last few years. Because I still maintain that this thing was going to be a story-focused game at some point, and then Square Enix just, dug the crowbar of microtransactions and monetization in and sort of wedged open a hole and said, "Can we just put something there? Can we just get a multiplayer component right there that we can just sort of monetize and sell off to various companies like Verizon so we can cash in?" And I feel like, still being able to get something over the finish line after that should be it should be commended. And obviously the creative side of the game, the devs, it does look gorgeous. Sometimes it does come together. The combat feels pretty good, especially over time. But it is just that thing of yet another overblown, mission statement, whatever they started with, compared to the version that we got at launch. And the thing is as well, it's 1,000 fixes, but it'll be tons of minuscule things or small things like, bugs and glitches can be major, but the overall problems with that game, the design ethos, the stuff that comes from those sort of, it tries to be a single player story thing and it also wants to be a platform for content, you kind of can't really patch that out unless you're going to do, some sort of overhaul thing. But I mean, does any of this stuff make you want to go back to it? I keep forgetting this game even happens, to be honest. Just zero, mark whatsoever.
Ask me in like 9 months' time when a bit more content is released, when they've refined some things, when they've fixed the bugs, when they've updated some of the core issues that I have with it. But like right now, like I'm pretty similar with you. It's rare that I just totally just Men in Black style wipe games from my brain. But I finished the campaign and I was just like, yep, That's me done. I slogged through it because, again, there was like loads of bugs and glitches. And I know a lot of people won't have encountered them, which is kind of like the frustrating parts. Anytime we talk about bugs and glitches on this channel, there'll be a bunch of people in the comments saying, well, I didn't get that. And it's like,
well, good for them.
Cool.
You know, I wish we were them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so pleased you didn't encounter this. Genuinely, I'm pleased you had a much better time than me. But like, just because you didn't doesn't mean other people are getting them and it isn't ruining their experience. Like, I want this game to succeed. You know, in the flashes of brilliance when I did have fun and I was, bigging the game up and stuff and thinking this is what it should be. Like, I want to see that on a grander scale. I want it to be fixed up, but I don't know why they had to release it like right now. I know it was supposed to come out early in the year, and that was like a major delay. Maybe they literally, from pressure from shareholders or people higher up in the company, literally couldn't delay it because they needed a big hitter out before the end of the year. Because obviously, everything is going haywire at the moment. But for me, if you delayed it, you polished up those bugs, you made a few changes, you could have had a much warmer response. Because right now, I don't know if there's the fan base there, and that's what I worry about when it comes to games like this, because Anthem, the fan base wasn't there. I do think I want to clarify, I think this is a better foundation than that. But now no one really cares about Anthem 2.0. People cared about Destiny, people believed in that potential, and consequently, they stuck around, they bought the expansions, they bought Destiny 2. And I don't know where Marvel's Avengers falls in on this spectrum, between Destiny 1 and Anthem in terms of how can it survive? Is there a fan base there? What the developer's going to do?
I see what they're going for. Like, they want to be the Destiny, the Anthem, the Warframe. They want to be this platform of content that's always there, and they just release characters every few months, and it's the game that you casually sort of drop back into. And occasionally, I flick past it on my XMB when I'm on my way to something else, like Samurai Jack, and I always think I should dive back into that. I should go back into the Avengers, but there's just nothing pulling me in. And for me, it isn't necessarily the bugs and glitches and quality control side of it. It was more that the overall design of that game just doesn't engender me to be loyal to it. I'm not loving the gameplay loop that much. I'm not loving the structure of it. So I think it has wider problems with stuff like that. At least in theory, if all these fixes and stuff and patches, if they smooth out the game so that you can just dive in, have a few matches with your friends, go punch some dudes as the Avengers, and everybody sort of gathers around it every couple of months when new characters get plugged in, I guess that's all they want. But in terms of it, releasing early, it's like, okay, what's the base state we can put this out in where we can turn the microtransactions on and we can start selling character card stuff, we can start selling these the different currencies to get you through that. For me, it reeks of that. It's like, what's the baseline version of this that we could sell, and we'll just patch it later, which is video game industry 101, especially at the top tier.
Well, that's totally it. Like, all of these, or most of these bugs and glitches, would have been noted by QA testers beforehand. Thanks to reports and stuff, we know that there are shippable bugs, bugs the developers know are there. But,
it's always known shippables,
Yeah, because they won't break the game, they just ship with them because they can patch them later. But honestly, man, the older I get, the more bitter I get about buying into these games early. I used to just be like, right, it's fine, the hype's good, I want to be there at launch.
Right.
But now
I want to swim.
I want to swim, but now I'm just finding it more difficult to escape the fact that I'm getting the worst version of this game for a much higher price every single time. And I'm like, why am I paying up front? I want to clarify, we didn't actually pay for the Avengers, we got review copies.
No, not in this specific instance. No.
Theoretically, I'm using this as a broader example for the game industry in large. Like, why are we paying to get these games that we're excited for day launch at a high markup just to be like glorified QA testers in a lot of ways, just to report back bugs and then make sure other people get a better experience? Well, they even say that. They're like,
oh, it's 1,000 issues that you helped surface. Like, you had a whole team for this. You have quality control. You have years to get this stuff right. And I know that the version of the game is changing across development, but those teams are right there. People are screaming at you using, and it's always the case as well when those behind-the-scenes reports come out, that various teams did flag these things to those at the top, those that could have done something about it, maybe requested a delay or whatever else for the release, and it never comes true. The release date comes out, the game ships, it's a big old mess. We all talk about it, and then they patch it up later. And in the likes of EA or whatever, sometimes they're like, oh, we got it right, we've listened to your feedback. And it's like, you shouldn't need to. You should be releasing something that is actually pristine from day one, or as close as it can possibly be. And if that means delaying stuff, then fine. I mean, at least Ubisoft got the memo, in terms of delaying Watch Dogs and whatever else that they've been working on. But Yeah, hopefully we can leave this stuff in this generation, but part of me just thinks that I don't know, I don't feel like the AAA industry has a workable business model that's reliable, and the only thing that seems to actually tip the scales back in the direction of quality just seems to be sheer amount of time invested, like the amount of years it took to make Red Dead or Last of Us 2, which just can't be a viable model for the overall industry. So I don't know, but the way that this rolled out only proved that everyone who thought that it got released unfinished and early and everything else were totally right.
Totally
so
right.
Yeah, let's know what you think. Yeah, I was gonna say, let's know what you think down in the comments below. Did you get stung by the day one version of Avengers, and what's your general thoughts on whether any of this stuff can ever go away? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I mean Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.